There's a secret in Skate that almost everyone missed. It's not in a cutscene, not mentioned in a mission, it's hidden in the city itself. In graffiti, abandoned trucks, and in one Easter egg that suddenly makes a lot more sense once you connect the dots. And I think I finally connected some of those dots. So let's start here. If you've ever played Skate before, then you've probably been to this bridge and noticed these barriers and tire marks. And if you take a closer look at the briefcase nearby, you'll see an M Corp logo on it. And that's an important detail, so remember it for later. At first glance, it doesn't look out of place. It just feels like a typical video game Easter egg. But what if I told you this is only a small piece of something much, much darker? One day, I was skating around San Van, casually visiting different spots on the map, and when I reached this open alley behind the buildings in Guldcrest, I noticed all the graffiti covering the walls. At first, it seemed like normal graffiti, just decoration to make the area feel alive. But then I noticed something. Something that didn't feel random. That's when it clicked. This graffiti isn't just filler. It feels intentional. Like it's telling a story most players never stop to notice. Take a look at this wall. And this one right here. See what they both have in common? They both feature the graffiti L1. Remember that. Now look at these trucks parked nearby. Nothing strange at first, except one of them has a dead fish spray painted on the side. That alone doesn't seem that weird. These trucks could have been sitting here for years. And in a city full of skaters, graffiti is bound to happen. But the other truck has L1 sprayed on it. That's interesting. So what even is L1? I don't know exactly what it means. But I do know that in Skate, there's a location near the news station and the prehistoric museum called the L1 Courts. So why would that name appear on random walls and trucks? Why does some L1 graffiti resemble the Impervatech towers while the others don't? And why does one truck feature a dead fish? If we go back to the L1 Courts, we can see something else that stands out. They're located very close to an old warehouse on the docks. A warehouse owned by Impervatech. That feels deliberate. Now maybe this is nothing. Maybe I'm just connecting dots that were never meant to connect. But what if the people of San Van were trying to tell a story through the city itself? A story involving the L1 Courts, Impervatech and those dead fish. So let's go back to the graffiti and look closer. Aside from the dead sea creatures, two designs stands out. An M-Crap tag and a strange monster-like version of the M-Corp logo. And when you look closely at the L1 graffiti, you'll notice something else. They all feature what looks like a skull, almost like a skull of a cat. But cats don't have bones in their ears. So what if these aren't feline skulls at all? What if they're distorted versions of the M-Corp logo? If that's the case, the M-Corp, L1 and the dead fish are all connected. So what's the story? Here's my theory. I think these trucks were transporting dead fish from the docks to the L1 Courts. But why would anyone move loads of rotting fish to a plaza? That's where things start to get strange. Because if you're a Skate fan, you've probably heard of the sewer monster Easter egg. And I think I've figured out how it got to be there. Now, this is where the theory gets extreme, but it lines up with everything we've seen so far. Back in the 1980s, M-Corp arrived in San Van's and began operating behind the scenes. At some point, people noticed strange tents, equipment and activity at the L1 Courts. Soon after, fences and security appeared, blocking the area completely. M-Corp told everyone it was temporary, nothing to worry about. And eventually, people stopped asking questions. Then the truck started arriving from the nearby dock warehouse. They smelled awful, but once again, M-Corp shut down any concerns. And here's the theory. What if M-Corp was attempting to bring something back from extinction? With the prehistoric museum nearby, the location suddenly makes sense. What if they succeeded? The fish trucks weren't random. They were food. But if that were true, why isn't it roaming the city? That's where the bridge comes back to play. I believe that one M-Corp employee tried to expose what was happening. They stole the creature, gathered documentation, and tried to reach the San Amsterdam news station. But they never made it. On the way back, they were followed. And on that bridge, everything went wrong. The car went into the water, the employee died, and all the evidence were destroyed. But the creature survived and escaped into the sewer system connected to the canal. M-Corp denied everything, and eventually they were forced out of the city for unrelated reasons. But some people never forgot. And I think those people left behind the graffiti, scattered across San Van, as a way to tell the story they couldn't tell outright. Now I don't think I've uncovered the entire truth, but I think I've exposed more than anyone else has. So if you've noticed something I missed, a symbol, a location, anything at all, let me know, because if this really is something, I don't think it was ever meant to be solved by just one person.